Hello. I don't feel like grinning today, but I will give you the mandatory wave. So now people are beginning to listen, and it's like, of course, that's going to inform your behavior. If you say something banal like, what people think doesn't affect me, that's such a ludicrous statement that if you just actually sat down for a moment and thought about this thing, you'd realize that what people think, whether or not it affects you at an energetic level, is immaterial. People do things, those things affect you. By the way, your room and the building you're in and the clothes you're wearing and your damn fancy technology, it means nothing. People come first. Life comes first. If you're listening, you might as well listen to something like that then, right? So it's like, on the day of judgment, according to the 60 Imam, peace be upon him, it's very intense. It's very intense. It's so intense. It's like, I don't know what to say about it. But here's what it is. Day of judgment, he either said or he was asked, he said the deed for which God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala azza wa jal, the Almighty and exalted, the deed which he will reward, will have the most reward. Now, as a Shia Muslim, I would think, well, it has to be durood or salawat, when you send blessings on Muhammad, because Allah made the universe for them and He made us to basically know Him through them. Essentially, is how we see the thing. Now, you'll be like, why are you preaching all of a sudden? I'm not preaching, but out of the necessity of informing my audience, if there is one, about even if it's one person or if there is not. This would be the correct approach in any case, I think. So I I put out a couple of videos about Muhammad, and I've been talking all about Imam Ali, peace be upon him, and the peace be upon the Prophet's family and him. Guys, I was gonna sing a song. I'm not even gonna put this up, that's for sure. That's what I'm thinking at this point. I remember saying that on a video that I saw on my YouTube channel. But yeah, I mean, I'm making a big deal of having to deal with the fact of people actually listening to this potentially, and how many people. Is that even a question? So if one person listens to what you say, is that, I mean, the question of whether or not even one person listens to what you say, that's an integral question, and that would be the question. However, people are more fixated on, let's forget all of that, it's just rubbish. You see how it's just going round and round, and a person gets carried away in just the act of speaking, and then the listener is just seeing the whole thing from an entertainment perspective. It's just like, it doesn't, like, that guy could be dropping wisdom bombs left, right, and center. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so the thing that is important, however, in all of this, and hopefully it'll make its way through the nebulous sea of immateriality to the title, which would be what people. I mean, this is what I see. I'm trained as a freaking corporate and school, university marketer. That part of me is like, this is how the title should be. That title would be the theme of the whole essay encapsulated in a concise statement. And so you get a lot of credit for being able to. I mean, it's actually a given as well, because I'm a Shia. Imam Ali, peace be upon him, said statements to that effect. Whole of the Quran is encapsulated in the first chapter, Fatiha, the opening, 7 verses. The whole of Fatiha is incorporated in the first verse, which is Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, the Merciful and Mercy Giving. Then the whole of that verse is encapsulated in the B that starts that sentence, the ba. The ba in Arabic is like a boat, and it has a dot underneath it. The dot is me, says Imam Ali. So that's a statement made by a man who apparently knew the Quran as well as was a manifestation, a walking Quran, if you would. It was a manifestation. I mean, that's what it is actually. It's like it doesn't matter what you say, and to a large degree, it doesn't matter what you think, because what's called thinking is not thinking. Thinking is when it's like something that the you is doing. Like a thought is like something that you're doing. You're doing that thing. But that thought is not you. And now to say that there are thoughts, and where do those thoughts come from, and how identified are you with those thoughts, those are all integral questions. Obviously not questions that everyday people are concerned with to their disadvantage, right? Because really at the end of the day, the important thing, if you're listening to this, if you've gone through all of those funnels, or like if you've just really followed me down this rabbit hole, if there's a rabbit hole, I mean, the point of this, the title would be what people like. Academia would create a title like this: what people think is or matters to you. What people think matters to you. That's the title. What people think matters to you, because it affects you, right? And now that's not a market. That's not a real marketing title though, because a real marketing title, a real marketing title is something someone's gonna click on. That's the whole thing is right there. So theoretically, yes, Imam Ali is great, and that is how it should be ideally. Like everything should be reduced into one thing. But it's like for some reason the academic approach, or at least the university educated approach that I've been schooled in, and that it literally took me years to actually, it took me years to decode and kind of unprogram myself to an extent. Guys, so we're born as pure babies, innocent, and we're full of life energy. We're perfect. I hope no one would argue with like a baby is perfect from whatever, however you describe it. A baby's perfect from a human aspect, like, whether or not it's black or white or green or yellow, right? And whatever kind of physical, like, is it a big or small baby, that's the kind of thing. How many fingers does it have, and so forth. Far from that kind of stuff, the important thing is this. The important thing is that you realize that you wish you could be more like that baby. That baby is like a dog, a puppy. The puppy and the baby, they're like, whoa, puppy is amazing, isn't it, guys? I'm a Muslim, and a lot of Muslims say that dogs are not allowed. I'm not allowed to offer my own opinion on that because I don't know about it. But I will tell you that I love dogs. So that's what that is. So this one is somehow talking about the question of people thinking about you. And I'm saying, as a YouTuber, apparently, is what I am, I guess, by definition, right? Whatever that means. I mean, it means a person who uses YouTube, or person who puts out one video, I guess. Is that a YouTuber? I guess that would be a YouTuber, a person that. So why is that important? Well, I mean, it's important to some, right? But it's a good thing to think about. Like, are you, so the question of why ask these questions, which are philosophical and perhaps even spiritual, that's a question. It's a good question, and it's a question most people really don't have time for to begin with, but it's a question that is a door to the rest of these other discussions. So if, I'm getting caught up in my own intellectual diatribes. I'm not here to entertain people. I'm here to catharsize. That now I've finally and definitively proved. The fact of the matter is, guys, art cannot be for something that you are not dead sure of. Like, an artist is a very practical person. So is a sorcerer, the Don Juanic sorcerer. Practical people, practical, very practical. This is the thing. Don Juan was the most practical, disciplined, orderly kind of man, and yet he had these crazy adventures. Mystical visions is not really even the word. I mean, literally, this world is one of an infinite number, and you can traverse through them, essentially, and he did. And Castaneda did, and Castaneda, took some hallucinogens early on, but it's not about the hallucinogens, of course. There are distinct, bodies of knowledge and themes and disciplines and lists and whatnot in Castanedian knowledge as or Don Juanic knowledge as presented by Carlos El Carlito Hombre, end quotes, Castaneda. Nobody knows about it. All these years I've searched for someone who likes Napalm Death. People think it's cool, I listen to it, or if they don't think that's cool, that's not material. That's not relevant question. What's relevant is, what do you like? How do you feel? I was talking to my elder brother today on Skype for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And it was great. It was just great. So thank God for family, right, guys? You guys would be like, family? Family is the worst. Those guys stole from me. They raped my daughter. They never returned my shovel. Their cooking sucks. And they drive a greasy car that's filled with like throwaway kitchen grease, like the stuff in the vats. They dump that onto the carpet or the matting in the back. If the guy's lucky, he has some nice Canadian Tire matting in there. They throw this grease on there, right? Then they close the doors and they just push the guy down a hill, I guess it would be, right? So I got nothing to say. So the whole question of people, you know, if you can't, like, I got nothing more to say in the sense like, if you can't answer the question of, which I can't at right now, by the way, you can't answer the question of why should you even indulge in these questions. I just threw that out there, and it's like, no comments, no likes, no dislikes. And it's like 5 viewers, 6 viewers, sometimes 15, 27, who knows what's going on, right? And these numbers are wrong, by the way. Not it's not the case that everyone who sees your ad, it's not even the case that it registers. I mean, impression, what's a Facebook impression? You got charged for impressions, and it's the problem with that is like the advertiser, like such as myself, the buyer of the Facebook ad, like what the freak, like impression, they could say 1,000 or 16,007 or 26,037 arbitrarily, really. If you have no way to verify this, I mean, it's not a big deal, but is it a big deal? There you go, once again. So that's called, what is this? It must be what Elon Musk refers to as fundamental principles. Anyway, I'm rambling as usual, but once again, two things here. First of all, that question, which is unanswerable right now, and then the question of if even one person does listen. So asking about the good or bad of whether someone should listen, that's a separate discussion, and it's kind of ongoing. But the question of if someone does listen, is that a possibility? Yes, it's possible. And so therefore, yes, of course it informs you, because it informs your thoughts, right? So that person's obviously thinking something, or those people, or that group of people, or, the question is who's thinking what, right? So it's one individual at a time with a thought process, with a worldview, with a mental model, right? So that person exists. 6 other billion people or 7 billion people like that exist. I mean, I guess at the very least, the rational step is to then forget yourself. Just forget yourself. Like, that becomes a spiritual ideal, but it's also a rational ideal, right? So this is exactly what Sam Harris did. This is the danger, right? So he used to think the same questions I think, or I used to think the same question he thinks. Same stuff, same stuff. He's a neuroscientist, just like the big neuroscientist Deepak Chopra, Sam Harris, and not even, actually, I'm not sure Deepak Chopra, but definitely Jordan Peterson is a neuroscientist. Jordan Peterson, um, I hope he's doing okay. Jordan Peterson's gone through a lot recently, right? He had some health or medicinal kind of situations that kind of were pretty kind of severe, and they lasted more than several months. This kind of thing. So that's some pretty serious business, and his daughter is out there taking care of him and all this kind of cool stuff, right, guys? Jordan Peterson is a very intense man and profound, and he discusses Nietzsche, Dostoevsky as historical figures, not to mention like postmodernism and just general advice that you might give a youngster in a very unique way, right? That's really all it is. At the very least, you need to consume some of his content, right? You need to. When I say you need to, being Canadian, I'll hardly back that up by saying, listen, you obviously do what you want to do, but I'm not trying to should you or something like that. Out here, they have this thing called shooting a person. So now I cuddle up with my dear user.